So hi, my name's Anissa. I'm currently studying medicine at Queen's, and I'm joined here today with Kate, who's recently took part in the Erasmus program at Queen's, and we are here to find out about her experience. So, hi Kate.
Hi.
Firstly, can you introduce yourself and let us know what you're studying?
Okay, so hi, my name is Kate. I am a final year law student here at Queen's.
That's great. So, Kate, why did you decide to take part in the Erasmus program at Queen's?
Well, obviously, as we know, COVID kind of reduced a lot of the opportunities that we had as Queen's students. So I was in my second year and I felt like I hadn't got a lot of the opportunities that I wanted to do while I was at university. So I was actually in a master's informative talk, and one of the people talking, she had actually visited the same place that I went to as an Erasmus student with Queen's, and she really encouraged me to go. So that was really why I decided to take part.
That's great. And what country did you end up at, and where did you study, and how long for?
So I went to Italy. I studied at the University of Trento. So Trento's sort of in the north of Italy, like sort of near Milan and Verona. And I was studying comparative European and international legal studies there for the first semester, so from September to Christmas.
Okay, and what were you most excited about ahead of your trip?
Well, to be honest, I hadn't been on a summer holiday for a few years, so I was excited to see some sun, probably. Um, and obviously make some new friends, meet people from different countries. You know, it's just such a unique experience, but mainly the sun.
Okay, and how did you prepare for it?
Um, I didn't do an awful lot of preparation now. We got the letter from Queen's saying that we've been accepted to go to Trento, and me and my friend actually decided to go together. She was on my course, and then another girl was going with us too, and it turns out she actually went to my school. Funny enough, it's a very small world. So we met up during the summer just to like talk and decide what we were going to do, when we were going to fly out, where we were going to live. And then obviously left all of the packing to the last minute. My mom actually had to go and repack my case because nothing fit. But yeah, so that was all my preparations, to be honest. I tried to learn a bit of Italian on Duolingo, but I can't say a lot of it went in.
Oh, fair enough. Sounds very exciting. I suppose, was there anything that you were anxious about?
I'd say probably being homesick, and making friends. I because just moving to a new country, like it's anxiety inducing as it is, and I have like a big family, we're very close. I lived in Belfast, but obviously that's nothing compared to living in a different country. And then I was really worried about making friends. You know, I was going over with two girls from Queens, which made me feel better, but still, you know, you'd be scared that it's going to be hard to make friends, especially with the language barriers and things, and you know, people from different countries, and you might not have that many opportunities. But that was what I was most worried about, probably.
No, that's completely understandable. I can only imagine you going through those feelings, and yeah, Belfast is so different from everywhere else.
Yeah.
So yeah, I completely get that. So then I suppose, what were your goals or ambitions for your time abroad?
I'd say my goals mainly were to travel as much as possible. Where we were in Italy was kind of central to a lot of places, and the girl that had went the year before, who really encouraged me to go, she'd went to so many different cities in Italy, and I'd never been to Italy before, and that's what I sort of wanted to do. You know, between still studying and doing well because I was final year, I am final year. Um, I wanted to see as much of the country I was in as I possibly could, probably.
That's great. And the next question here is, how long was your flight and how did you feel when you landed?
So the flight was only 2.5 hours, so not too bad, not too long. And then when we landed, I think it was such a long trip. Like the flight wasn't long, but then we had to get a bus and a train and a bus before we got to, you know, where we needed to be. So I think it was just the stress of all that really, and I wasn't really thinking about the fact that I'd actually just moved countries for the next 4 months. So I was just excited. I just thought I was on holidays or something, I wasn't really thinking about what I'd actually done.
Okay, and the next thing would be, what was the first thing that you noticed when you arrived?
Definitely the heat. I don't think we were really prepared for how warm it was actually going to be. Italy, last week of August, first week of September, it was so, so warm. And we were traveling with all our big heavy bags and trying to carry them around. So yeah, that was probably it, like just the weather difference. Oh my God, so different from here.
I completely understand. I suppose with it being, again, so different from Belfast,
Mhm.
it's nice to be able to experience. So who was the first person you met?
Well, obviously, apart from the two girls I went over with, the first people that we properly met on Erasmus were probably we went to get our Erasmus student cards. So we went to the Erasmus student office in the University of Trento, and then we heard these girls behind us, and we were like, they're definitely Irish. So we turned around, introduced ourselves, and they were from Dublin, Maynooth, Galway. So there was a good wee group of them. There's three of them and three of us. So obviously we made friends from different countries. Like we met Spanish girls the same day, but it was just funny that the first people we actually met were people, only a few hours down the road, really.
Oh, that's so fun. Can you actually tell us a little bit more about the people that you had met and the connections you'd made?
Well, we made people honestly from so many different countries. The Erasmus Student Network in Trento was really, really good for that. They organised so many events, and we met people from Germany, people from Russia, Latvia, Portugal, all these different places, Finland, like Germany. I've just honestly a house in every country at this stage, friends from all around everywhere.
That's really good. And could you tell us what was the biggest culture shock you had?
There was probably a lot of culture shocks, like everything was nearly a culture shock. I'd say the European people are a lot more open and honest and direct than nearly we would be. Like Irish people are really tend to, I don't know, be awkward and not like to say things, and they're very different. Or even the studying, like the university is very different. It's way more like school, like small classrooms, long lectures, teachers asking you questions and things. Whereas in law, anyway, at Queen's, it's big lecture halls, but then you have smaller tutorials, sort of thing. So that was different. The studying system was definitely different.
Okay, and what was the biggest surprise when you were there?
Honestly, I would say the biggest surprise was how well I took to it. I was really prepared for going over that I was going to really struggle. I thought it was going to be very homesick. I thought it was going to be really difficult to make friends and find people that I got on with. But honestly, like I phoned home and FaceTimed and obviously all of that, but you're so busy, just so busy, you'd no time to think about stuff like that at all. So I would say that was it. I was surprised by how easy I found it.
Great. And what was the most exciting part of your experience?
I would say probably all the trips we went on. The Erasmus Student Network in Toronto was very good at organising trips for us and subsidising them as much as they could. So we went to Rome, we went to Tuscany, Florence, Pisa, Venice. Some of them went to Milan. So I'd say that was the most exciting part. Like I'd never been to Italy, never been to Rome or any of that. So probably that.
Yeah, it sounds like if you hadn't have went to university, you may have not experienced so much
Yeah,
of it.
maybe. No,
That's,
definitely.
that's amazing. So what skills did you develop during your time on Erasmus?
It honestly taught me so many skills. Like it made me a lot more independent, I would say. Like as I said, I'd lived away from home, but it's not the same if you're not, coming home every Friday for your giving your mummy your washing or something. It's properly living by yourself in a different country. You don't know anybody. You have to learn to sort things out for yourself. And even like on the trips we went on, obviously things went wrong, you got lost, there's always something going wrong. So really helped problem solving skills, like you just had to learn to deal with it and move on and be resilient, maybe even that too.
That sounds so good. Being able to experience something like that to help you kind of develop and grow as a person.
Yeah.
Sounds really like it's benefited you quite a bit, so it has. Yeah, that's great. So the next question here is, what is the one thing you will never forget about it, your trip in specifically?
I would say definitely the friends we made. You know, it was so upsetting to have to leave them. Like, I met some of the most amazing people, and I'll have to go to all of their countries to see them again because honestly, the friendships we made were so important to me and so important to them. Even to just get a taste of different cultures and different countries and how they look at things. So that's the one thing I never forget, the friends that I made.
It's amazing. So would you recommend the Erasmus to any of our Queen students?
Absolutely. Like, this is why I decided to do this because I would never have gone if it wasn't for that girl that really convinced me to go. I would have never thought about it. I would have thought you had to speak the language, which I didn't. Um, I was just the one uninformed and scared. So that's why I wanted to really encourage people. You know, I wasn't sure, and if you're not sure, honestly, I would give you that push to say you should do it.
That's so nice. And what bit of advice would you give to future participants to help them prepare for their own Erasmus experience?
I would say it's always good to have a few words, you know, just even to get you in the shops and the restaurants, you know, please, thank you, can I have? Um, Conversational language. And I would also say start looking for your accommodation as soon as possible because, you know, I'd say it's the same all throughout the big cities in Europe. Like, it's quite hard to find somewhere in the right place or for whatever you want. So better to look sooner rather than later.
Yeah, that sounds like really good advice, especially since you've experienced it for yourself. You're gonna know the best when it comes to these kind of things. I suppose my final question here is, do you have any final reflections?
Honestly, I would just encourage everyone as much as possible. Just take yourself out of your comfort zone, do something different, you know. It'll look good on your CV as well. It'll teach you so many employable skills and you make so many good friends along the way, you know. Our Erasmus Student Network helped us so much in making friends and going to cities we never would have gone to and things like that. So honestly, I would say it's like the best experience of my life. Like 100%, I would encourage everyone who can to do so and join.
That's great. Thank you so much, Kate. That was really interesting hearing about your experience.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again. Oh, sorry. Thank you for sharing that all with us, and hopefully, everyone that's heard this as well will appreciate everything you've said there. And yeah, thank you all for listening as well. That's great.